Great, great. Well, let's get down to some of these questions then, because it's, in the space where we are today, where we're just constantly just viewing something. Either we're on our computers or we're on our phones. We're always watching something, right? So
Yeah.
if you're an entrepreneur and you're out there and you're not part of that mix, then somebody else is taking your space. So let's find out from angles, what can we do? So I have a question here that says, how do I consistently attract high quality leads instead of relying on referrals and word of mouth, which are really unpredictable?
That's a big question, Diva. But let's go ahead and get started. The simple answer to that is have a system in place, a process step by step, execute on that on a consistent basis. So I want to talk about Chet Holmes. He was hired by Charlie Munger. I'm not sure if people know who Charlie Munger was. He basically was Warren Buffett's advisor, and it was a multi-billionaire. And Chet Holmes was brought in to double revenue from an ad perspective for a specific company. Essentially, they sold trade magazines, and Chet Holmes had to sell the ad space. And this is a really powerful story because this story I think is gonna give a good example of what folks, your audience, ought to do in order for them to achieve the same success that he did. So he went about and identified the customer base and realized that only 1% of ad spenders are the ones who basically generate the revenue for a lot of these trade journals. So he came up with the concept of Dream 100. He identified the ideal top 100 customers for that particular business. He came up with that criteria, researched who they were, how much funds they had, and so on and so forth. And with that, once he identified who they were, he created a system, and he kept up with that system. So he did consistent follow-up every once in a while on a cadence, sending them invaluable insights, helping them come up with ideas in terms of how to grow their business, sharing them industry news. So what did that do for him? It helped them become an established authority, because now these people were trained to see him as a go-to person to understand anything industry related. He also created a whole bunch of multiple touch points to reach them. So calls, direct mail, emails, events. So he identified, by understanding who these two Dream 100 people were, he identified what events they attend, when they're going to attend, and so on and so forth. So he made sure he was there and was able to connect with them. And he even sent them gifts. And then the third one was he focused a lot of time on building personal relationships. Many people, many entrepreneurs nowadays, they're really focused on the transaction. Yes, at the end of the day, the transaction puts food on the table. However, it's the relationship that is going to put a meal for you for years to come. So where I'm going with this is Dream 100, or say it differently, know your customer, understand who they are, what are the pain points, what are the desires, what is it how do they identify themselves? Are they high achievers, standard, risk takers, or not? Because I have worked with so many entrepreneurs, and the consistent area that I see that is a massive gap or an opportunity for entrepreneurs to work on is really understanding who their customer are. So let's talk about financial service, for example. I think some of your audience members are financial services, tax preparers, and so on. So I have worked with some where they said everybody needs to improve their wealth, to have a wealth plan. Like, I guess I agree. What about vehicles? Everybody needs a vehicle. At the end of the day, a vehicle is going to take you from point A to point B. However, there's different types of customers out there. And that's the way to think about it. So if we think about vehicles and we think about high-end customers who want the premium, they want the status, they want exclusivity, these are folks that are looking for a vehicle, a car that is top performing, gives them prestige, has cutting-edge features. It helps maintain their status, their reputation. They don't want to deal with any hassles of cheap solutions. They want to feel successful and respected, and I could go on and on and on. These type of individuals, they want vehicles like Mercedes-Benz, Tesla. Actually, at Tesla, people who go to Tesla, some of them are very environmental focused. So as you could see, by understanding your customer, you can now work on what I call props. which is your promotion. What messaging are you going to use? Your reach. Where are you going to find them? The offer. What product makes the most sense for this particular customer? And then the last one, the price point. So if you're dealing with affluent folks, then the prices, you could command a higher price. So dealing with the cars, we talked about these higher achievers who wants exclusivity. What about the families who are busy, who prioritize safety, who prioritize reliability? Think of a mother who identifies herself as a soccer mom. She has kids who go to soccer practice, right? So she has this fear of putting her family at risk. She wants the actual vehicle, whatever it is that she purchased, to last and not to break down. She wants that peace of mind so she could go to bed and rest easily. Because of the pain points and the desires that I just mentioned about this soccer mom, then vehicles that will stand out to her will be Toyota Highlander, the Honda Pilot, SUVs, right? The messaging that will work for her to catch her attention: security, ease of use, long-term reliability, trusted by many families, right? So as you could see, once you understand who your ideal customer is, you could start to shape prop. You could start working on that messaging. You could start tailoring an offer that works for them. You could find where they're located, similar to how Chet Holmes did it. And
okay.
does that make sense?